What's happening, family? Spybud29 here in trim gel. What's up, Debo? I've been meaning to give you a call, brother. Give you a call. I'll do that maybe later on today. Happy 420 to you. As you can see, in trim gel. And I've been in trim gel basically all day yesterday. I trimmed till like 4 o'clock in the morning this morning. I would have probably only trimmed till 2 o'clock, but the wife wanted to watch a movie. She wanted to be entertained, so we watched I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. Very, very funny movie, of course. I'm sure you've seen it. Of course you've seen it. Okay, I'll check out IG. Like I said, yesterday, my entire focus was doing this. I had actually done some footage, and I was going to do an update showing everybody the plants before I took them down, and got too busy doing this. This was a lot more work than I was anticipating. Of course, it always is. You know, the more buds you grow, the more you got to trim. And this Romulan has a lot of branching, a lot of small branches, so it's a lot of work. The lemongrass and the dozy dough, which I've already finished, was a lot easier. How you doing, bruh? First of all, let me ask you if you can hear me. You seem to be the only person in the chat right now. I've already tried some of this Romulan. It's really good. I tried some of the. Actually, I tried all three. I don't even know why I'm saying it separately. I've tried all three. I'm doing my little microwave method, so of course I didn't get the full terps, but everything's smoking really, really nice. It's got nice thick smoke, very smooth, even though it's been microwaved. So I know I didn't give out like give people enough time to really prepare for this. I'm sure everybody's out doing or at home doing their own little personal 420 celebration. Sometimes there are people. Oh, 420 girls live. Shoot, nobody's gonna be on mine. Shoot, she's way more popular than me. Maybe I should come back. Matter of fact, hey, you know what I think I'm gonna do, Debo? I think I'm gonna sign off of this. Oh, wait a minute, we're getting somebody else. What's up, Anthony P? Happy 420 to you. As you can see, I am in trim gel. Some Romulan. We went 8 weeks with it. I might have gone 9 weeks, but I found a little bit of powdery mildew a few weeks ago. So I was really monitoring that situation, and I was using hydrogen peroxide water, and I was also using plant therapy to slow down the infection. And I did a pretty good job, but the last couple of weeks I really didn't want to spray anything on these buds because I usually don't spray anything after the second week of flower. But it was a necessity this time. I saw powdery mildew in several spots, so I didn't want to let that go. Sweet, thank you. I'm glad you can hear me. What's up, Burble? What is up? Yo. Remember when everybody used to say yo? If you're, of course, everybody is not from the States, but remember when everybody used to say yo, like if you're old enough to remember, if you're in the late 80s, instead of somebody saying like, excuse me, or hey, they'd be like, yo. Yo. Matter of fact, there's this scene from Do the Right Thing where the guy gets his tennis shoes stepped on, and he's telling the other guy, yo, hey, yo. And even then, it sounded weird to address somebody like that, but hey, that's what we used to say, yo. You guys got to bear with me a little bit. I'm sitting far from my screen, and I got my reading glasses on, but I'm kind of making out what you guys are typing in. The mildew happened because I was doing the vapor pressure deficit thing, and you got to run at higher temperatures and a higher humidity. And the first thing they tell you is that if you do try to grow using the vapor pressure deficit, that you may encounter some problems because your environment's going to harbor. It's going to be more. It's going to be more friendly to bugs and pathogens. So although I was implementing my IPM, in a situation like that, I guess if you miss a day or you come in a day too late, it could be detrimental. So we did have a little bit. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. Yeah, no shit. That's the only jail I want to see too. So let's see how many people we have participating. Right now we have just the 4 of us so far. As Debo mentioned, 420 Girls live right now. And I know we have a couple of the same subscribers. She has far more than I do, though. And for me, it's not about numbers of subscribers. Of course, it's about just getting information out, exchanging information, and being a big family and letting us all help each other out. A lot different than what's going on in the country. You notice that they only want to seem like they only want to take care of the rich. With this stimulus package, a lot they were. I was watching something today, and it was talking about how all these millionaires are getting. They wrote something in that bill where they're all getting like $1.5 million or something like that, $1.4 million for their individual stimulus payments, and they're millionaires. They don't need any money. People need money, not giving us any money. But let's try to keep it positive. Let's try to be happy today. It's our day, 420 day. And does anybody even know why they say 420? Sub Legend, come on. How you doing? I forgot the question I just asked. I really haven't even been smoking. I'm really tired. Like I said, I did this till 4 o'clock in the morning. Then I had to get up relatively early. I think I got up around 8. Probably didn't fall asleep till around 5 or close to 5. But I had to do this by myself. Mrs. J, she had things to do. She got to work today. So she's at work and I'm working here doing this. Yeah, it's funny because sometimes when I trim, I can get a little nausea from just smelling the bud and being up close on it. It can bother me sometimes. I gotta take a break when it gets like that. You should take a break anyway when you're doing this because your posture is usually pretty bad. You're slumping over. I try to sit upright. I got a box like directly underneath where you can see in between my legs, and I'm just dropping the leaves right into that box effortlessly. That makes it a little bit easier. So you guys got to bear with me because I am not constantly looking at the screen. Gotta watch what I'm doing, of course. Yeah, Dallas Cowboys #1, all right. #1 in what? That's the question. #1 in what? I'd say #1 in dysfunction when it comes to the Cowboys. But that's because y'all owner is bigger than the team. Kind of remind me of the Raiders, where Al Davis was bigger than the team. He didn't like the fact that Marcus Allen was getting more attention than the Raiders. That's part of the reason why I benched Marcus Allen for 4 years. I thought he screwed his daughter or something. That's what I thought he did. I didn't know it was a vanity thing like that. But I can't remember the documentary I was watching, but they were talking about that. So hey, Cowboy fans, hey, you're having a hard time right now. Having a hard time. Cowboy fans crack me up because years ago, it's kind of funny. I was playing a gig. If any of you know, I am a musician, or at least I like to call myself one, bass player and all. I was playing a gig at the Hyatt Regency in Oakland, of all places. And this was years ago. I mean, it must have been. I know this. Manute Bol was playing for the Warriors, and I was to see Sports Bar. Manute Bol was there, so I met Manute Bol. Came up to like his waistband, and I'm 6'1". He had a really short torso, just all legs and arms. Um, but I was at this gig, and it was in the Hyatt Regency Sports Bar, and they had a bunch of TVs in there, and this is a long time ago. So the TVs were the old Square Biz TVs, your old analog Square TVs, and there were 4 games on the TVs. There was I think Denver was playing San Diego. I can't remember the other guy. I think maybe Seattle was playing somebody, and Oakland and Dallas were playing. Now, this is kind of I'm making fun of Dallas and Oakland fans with this one. But during the games, like everybody was watching their game, just minding their own business, having fun, drinking and stuff. But the Oakland fans and the Dallas fans were off the hook. They were off the chain, insane, whatever you want to use, words you want to use, because everybody else is acting like they got some sense. But anytime that the Raiders did anything, I mean, even if they gained 5 yards, the Raider fans would like literally jump on the tables, start yelling and screaming at the Dallas fans. Then, anytime Dallas did anything, and it didn't even I'm not talking about scoring. I'm just talking about 5-yard plays, 3-yard plays, maybe bat a ball down, just something like that. Anytime the Dallas did something, they do the same thing, jumping up on the tables, yelling and screaming at the Raiders fans. They weren't playing each other. They were in separate games, playing different teams, yet the Raider fans and the Dallas fans were acting a fool. So that's my story. What's up, Kelly Hill? What's up? What's up, Jeff Bush? Okay, I'm reading Anthony P. You saying, hey, Bio, you have a favorite pair of trimmers? Yeah, first thing in the AM with those putrid strains gets my gut. Yeah, it can be a little nauseating, but it's a good nauseating. I'd rather be smelling this than other things. Um, these trimmers I have right here, they're Fiskas, but these are the ones they have a coating. So even though you can see a little bit of stuff stuck to them, they really resin doesn't really stick to them too badly, and they're very easy to clean. So I use these. Somebody was suggesting some other trimmers. I can't remember the exact names. It was a nifty name like Chicama or something like that. I can't remember the exact name. And they were suggesting those. I guess they were like curved. I actually had some curved scissors. I don't know where they are. I think Mrs. J must be using them for something. So I was going in my stuff. What is up, John Lloyd? How you doing? Happy 420. You were mistaken for Lal Alzado, really? You called him the refrigerator. I don't think Lal Alzado's nickname was the refrigerator. Rest in peace, Lyle. You know, Lyle got messed up with taking all of that stuff. They used to take a lot of stuff back then. Speed and steroids and everything else so that they could play. Monsters of the Gridiron, yeah, it's that are you talking about a specific show or are you talking about a team? What is up, Sammy Kilchi? I can't, I got to get up. I can't even see the writing. Maybe if I could make it bigger. I don't know. Let's see if we can do something about that. Try not to give you guys a view of just my junk there. So I'm going to see if I can make the writing a little bit bigger on my screen so that I can read what the hell you guys are saying. All right, that will work. That will work. Okay, that's much better. Now I can read what you're saying. So Samet Kilsey, if that's how you say it. You just tidied up your room, waiting for your father and mother. And I guess you did your balcony too. 420 to you, Samet. What's up, SB Live Soil? Back to you, back at you. Yeah, AP. I'm not big on the curved scissors either. They don't really serve me any purpose. And when Mrs. J starts trimming with those curved scissors, I get scared she's gonna mess things with those curved scissors. She gets really reckless with her trimming style sometimes. That's why I don't really like her to help me. I mean, if I have a lot of cannabis to trim, of course, her help is valued. But sometimes I don't want to be watching her. She gets a little bit reckless with her trimming. She loses, it takes a lot of patience to do this. And it's one reason why, if anybody is selling their product, You notice that people, especially your friends and family, they act like you just grew a bag of bud. Like you just all you had to do is throw some seeds in the ground and then a bag of bud just grew, readily trimmed, just ready to smoke. A lot of people don't realize how much work goes into producing some high quality cannabis. Even if your cannabis doesn't come out high quality, it's still a lot of work. You know, and the trimming part, that is very, very monotonous, time consuming. It's good to have some snacks ready. If you could have somebody preparing food for you, you don't have to worry about things like that. That makes it even better. I wish you could share some with me too, Kelly. Yeah, but that's what I like to do. I like to cure my bud at least a month before I smoke it, and to make sure that I don't go in that bud, I always take a little, maybe about an ounce, and I will just smoke that ounce. Usually it's the lower buds and things like that. We'll have that ounce to smoke while everything else is curing. Now, if we're overlapping and we already got cured bud to smoke, of course we don't have to do that. So it's always good to, if you always got something going, you always got fresh bud to smoke. That's a nice thing. That's why I wish I could go perpetual. I can't do it here. Just not enough room, not enough space to go perpetual. I was doing it for a while with tents, but I really don't like to grow in tents. I would prefer to have separate rooms. So what I'm going to try to do is trim a branch and read some comments. And I don't want to be trimming all day today, so we're not going to keep this live stream going too long. But I just want to send a happy 420 out to you guys. I actually did videotape footage for a update, but I do like to do a little bit of editing, and I didn't have time to do it because I'm doing this. And we need to get this done. Now, I only have one area that I grow and dry in, so everything that's I have two more plants to trim, and everything else is on a rack, on a drying rack. And basically, what I'm doing, even though I'm leaving most of it on the stems, I'm still putting on a drying rack. It's something about the way a drying rack processes the buds. I kind of like my buds flattened out a little bit more than when they're cylindrical, or whatever the word would be, when they have their true shape. I don't know, something about when they get compressed a little bit by their own natural weight. I don't know. It just seems to me to smoke better and to be more pleasant. I like the way the buds even look when they've been compressed a little bit. That is Romulan, Joshua. Old school Romulan. And it does have that classic Romulan smell. I've only sampled it by microwaving some of it, so I haven't got the true flavor, but it does seem to have those Romulan characteristics. So I'm excited about the Romulan. Yeah, over there by where you are, Debo, it's 10 more minutes to 420. Right now, I'm, of course, on the West Coast, so we're still 3 hours away. I go back and forth. Sometimes I dry trim, sometimes I wet trim. What I find with dry trimming is, it's a little bit more tedious, when the leaves are lining up against the bud and stuff. It's a little bit more work to me. but there are benefits to it, of course. Your plants dry a little bit slower. I think that's going to improve your flavor. First of all, you got to just have some good bud. I think that there's a lot of folklore involved with growing cannabis. And one thing in particular, you guys can let me know how you feel about this. The darkness periods that people suggest. You know, some people say 48 hours, some people say 72. I've even heard of people going 48 hours or more. Excuse me, 72 hours or 96 hours, I should say, 4 days, 96 hours and more in darkness. Personally, I have never really seen or noticed a really, really big difference. I haven't had too many experiences where I've actually left plants in the dark for different periods of time. But although I have done that this time because it's taken me so long to trim that the Romulan in particular, the last two plants were in darkness an extra 24 hours. So I do have them on racks drying. So I put each plant separately on the rack so I can tell which one is which, the bud from which plant. So if there's any differences, I'll know. And I was particularly important with the lemongrass because the lemongrass presented itself like 3 different phenos. And one of them in particular, the one I was commenting looked like Blue Dream. It really has it's a stronger smell. It's a little bit sweeter than the other ones. It looks different, so it really wouldn't have mattered if I kept it on the same rack. It looks a little bit different, but I'm trying to keep them separate. What I've sampled so far is pretty good, AP. That's what I'm going to call you, AP. It's pretty good. I don't know what I did with my ashtray because I am ready to smoke something. Here we go. And I have some lemongrass in this one. I just need some fire. What's up, DC? You say you got that land race. I hope it's a good land race. I wish I could get a hold of some land races. Matter of fact, Candy Wallace was mentioning that she had some land races for me. If you're out there, Candy, you were supposed to hit me on my email, biobud29@gmail, and we were supposed to talk about that. So hopefully you'll hear this and you'll get back to me. So Debo, you want to know about my microwave method. So basically what I'll do, I'll take a nug. Let's just say we'll take nugs like this. I usually won't do it with the actual top. But usually I'll take maybe some lower buds. Try to get something, and I try to get something that's developed pretty well. I don't want to use like the most scraggly thing because even though it's, you know, you're not curing it and stuff, it's kind of important that you use a decent bud, and it'll give you a better idea of what you got. And what's up, East Coast Florida? Anthony P. I got family in Pensacola. So smoke one for them too. So the microwave thing is I'll take the buds, of course, off the branch. I'll put them in a paper towel, lay them on a paper towel on the plate, and I'll fold the paper towel. And then I'll microwave at 1 minute intervals and set the microwave on the lowest power. So on my microwave, I'll press power level 1. What's up, Soil Bayata? One of my old friends. Happy 420 to you, brother. So yeah, so then I'll microwave for 1 minute at a time on the lowest power. And then each interval, you flip the paper towel over. because you know microwaves heat things up from the bottom. If you ever notice, if you heat something up in the microwave, it's always hotter on the bottom, and sometimes the top can be cold. So that's why you got to spin things around. Sometimes you got to turn them over. So you flip it over for every time you complete a minute, and depending on the size of the buds you're drying in the microwave, it could take up to 10 minutes. So it takes a little patience. And but at the end result is you will be able to sample your bud basically instantaneously. Now, it's very, very difficult to flick a lighter with gloves on, especially with resined gloves. So I haven't even smoked yet today. Well, that's not true because I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning. So the last time I smoked was about 4 in the morning. So I'm going to do it now. Cheers. So, oh, excuse me. This is some bomb. Bomb is it means fire, I guess. Bomb goes back from the 90s, I guess, when we used to say that's bomb. See, we got our white ash, and this is very, very pleasant, even though it's been microwaved. Sup, Cat Bunny? You know, 2020 has been pretty good for me. Bought a new car. Well, not new, but used, but it's a nice car. So anybody, if you're gonna whatever, dude, baby lungs. One day, man, we'll get together. We'll see who can outsmoke each other, Debo. It depends how many times in the microwave. Like I said, you do it a minute at a time. So you may, if it's like little teeny buds, it might take 6, 7 minutes. If it's a, let's say, a bud, maybe I'm gonna grab a bud real quick. Let's just say you did that size. It's gonna take about 10 minutes. It's gonna take about 10 minutes. So with the time that it takes you to press the buttons on the microwave and all of that, and sometimes you walk away. It'll be about 15 minutes, but in 15 minutes you'll have some fairly decent bud to smoke. Even though this has been microwaved, it's better than what I could get at my local dispensary. Just because it's been grown with living organic methods, it's extremely potent. Very tasty, even though it's microwave. What's up, Christopher Sharing or Scaring? I hope I said your name right. I can eviscerate things. Okay, I missed something that you said, Anthony P. You got some shatter. That's sweet. I have personally, I don't mess with shatter only because a lot of times it's the way it's derived is not doesn't go with my organic concepts. But if somebody could produce some shatter without using any solvents and things like that, I would be down for it. What's up, Say Cole? I'm just gonna say Cole. Hopefully, I'm producing that right. Okay, calling from you're hitting us up from Brazil. That's what I'm assuming. It says Brazil. I know it's kind of crazy down there in Brazil. You guys got that crazy president. He don't give a f about the people. I was watching a video of him today. He was coughing on people. And the last one leader who was taking all of this stuff not so seriously, I guess that was Boris Johnson or whatever. He got sick, had to get quarantined and stuff. And they're not even really talking about how good he's doing. What's up, Will Cash? Niners! That's how Niner fans say Niners. Is like, because most of the time they're drunk. So Niners! Niners! But me, I don't really get drunk. I do drink, but I drink moderately. So if I'm out, sure, I haven't been out in a while, but if I'm out, I might have two drinks, like going like out to dinner and stuff. My wife and I, we might be at the restaurant a couple hours. We'll have maybe a couple of cocktails each. If we're out like listening to some live music and we're out for maybe 3, 4 hours or something like that, I might consume three drinks. But I'm always consuming the cannabis. So I always supplement my cannabis use with drinking. But I don't do the thing where I just go out to drink. And definitely I'm not one of those people who goes, let's get fucked up tonight. I have a lot of friends and colleagues who do drink like that. And if we go out, they'll have like seven. They'll have 7 shots of tequila because I like tequila. They'll have that on the table on the bar for me, and they're downing them, and I haven't even really hit one or two of those. 420 girl, how you doing? Happy 420, 420 girl. I'm glad you're with us. I heard that you were doing a live stream, and I was like, I was about to shut mine down to get on yours. I was, because nobody was on mine when I started off, but a lot of people have come in, so I hung with it. I was hoping that you would join us. And I have to, and the names that I can see, and I'm not sure. Sometimes the names don't show up, but we got 420 girl, Anthony P, Cat Money, Christopher Shuring, Debo 52, Joshua Mall, Kelly Hills, Sakol, Soyo Bayata, and Will Cash. If anybody else is out there, please send out a happy 420. Send out a shout out to the family. So yeah, I'm over here in trim jail. I've trimmed so far 9.5 plants. I'm tired of doing this. I wish that you could just grow a bag of bud. And I remember before I ever grew, that's pretty much what I thought. I thought all you had to do was just grow it and then it was just ready to smoke. All you have to do is just pluck it off the plant and smoke it. Matter of fact, my nephew, back when Proposition 215 was first passed, we both were growing and he took his first harvest. He put it in this container and he walked around with it sealed. He didn't even know that you're supposed to dry the bud. And so he was walking around with that, but he gave me some, and I dried it properly. And I didn't know he was doing that because I would have told him don't do that. And the next time I saw him, his bud was all molded. It was brown and moldy. And I was like, dude, well, you're supposed to dry it. You're not supposed to take it off the plant and walk around with it. But he was so proud of it. He was so proud of his accomplishment that that's what he did. Yeah, you know how I did a Fortuna Girl. I did one of the um previews. I guess I sent out the notice, but you know how YouTube is. It doesn't send them to everybody. Yeah, if you Kenny Hill, if you dry in the microwave, it is going to retain a lot of that green taste. So this is not something I'm saying do the bulk of your harvest with. This is just if you want to sample the potency, you can do this. But the funny thing is, when you grow in with living organics, you're gonna have a lot of flavor in your bud. And this is comparable to what I would have got at a dispensary, even though it's been microwaved. In some ways, it's a lot better because it's smoother. So yeah, you're definitely gonna have some green taste. because the bud's going to be green as it was when you put it in the microwave. You're not going to have any of the curing processes take place. It's just going to dry. Damn, 420 girl, what you talking about? Damn, why you saying damn? The Soyo Bayata is vaping up some gas mask. Sweet. Hopefully everybody's got some nice product to smoke. Hopefully it's homegrown. So I'm just taking a break. I'm smoking. Excuse me. I do got to get back to this trimming. Yeah, the delay, I can't do anything about the delay because in the area I live in, we just don't have the infrastructure for that's going to work well with streaming. So hopefully it is not too bad. Okay. Yeah, I was just trimming. Well, you saw you've all seen my garden. It was 12 plants. I had 4 Romulan, 4 Dozy Do, and 4 lemongrass. So it's 12 altogether. And they got pretty big. They got pretty big, and the Romulan in particular does a lot of branching. You know, I only topped them once, but you know, all of this is not even everything I've trimmed from this plant. But you know, you can see all these branches, and that's not even like that might be one quarter. I don't even think it's 1/4 of the branches that came off of these plants, the Romulan in particular. The other varieties, they didn't branch out so much, which I actually prefer. You know, I like a lot of branches if you're gonna scrog it up and support them. But as you've seen, I didn't set up my trellis system, so everything was flopping around, and that gets to be a little bit of a nuisance. So I had to stake everything up, and that, of course, that's a lot of extra work that you avoid by putting up a trellis. So it's just 12 plants. Um, I usually run around 12 plants in my setup. I think I could do less for sure. Yeah, 420 girls got those varieties. I mean, 420 girl, you are busy. You are busy. You are always doing way more than I care to do. I got to just kind of be doing like one thing at a time. But hey, I got love for you. I got respect for you. And I wish Ganja Hawk was back because you know it was Ganja Hawk. He did this video on female growers, on women growers, and he was a real asset to the community because he just had this vibe and he showcased things that a lot of other people don't. He First of all, he showcased other people's gardens, and he would actually show footage from your garden on his channel, and he definitely increased my subscribership. So everybody, please bear with me. I guess the comments are delaying. I guess you guys are hearing me okay, but the comments are coming up slow on my side. Sup, Solomon Sal? The funny thing is, I only can see 5 participants on my chat. It says we have 15 in, so hopefully that's what's going on. I'm going to type something in. This don't pay attention to what I'm typing in. I'm just trying to see how long the delay is. I typed something in and it popped up right on my screen, but of course it's coming from me, so that might make a difference. What's up, 420 Diaries? My sister. It is good to finally have you on. You know, 420 Grow Diaries, or excuse me, I didn't say that right. The Grow 420 Diaries. She is the one that suggested Baby J. She's the one who suggested that I do a live, and she buttered me up. She buttered me up. She was so she buttered me up so much. I would have been doing her yard for her if that's what she would ask me to do. I would have been washing her car. She's like, bio, 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 bio. You're the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, I'm just kidding. But she did butter me up, so she got me on here live. So I owe it all to her. She's not the first person to suggest that I do a live, but she's very persuasive. Very persuasive. I like that video you did of you cutting your hair. I like that. That was pretty cool. I actually watched it because I was sitting up here trimming anyway. So I was like, hey, let me put my girl on. And I checked her out, checked you out. The entire cut from start to finish. My hair is similar to yours. I have more of a crown, but it's similar. And I have locks, of course, coming out of the top. You know, we got a good community. It's a beautiful thing. There are people out there willing to share information, and you know that blew me away because the first person I bought my equipment from, I used to buy bud from this guy. And funny, he was an arborist, so he was like, you know, he trimmed trees and he knew a lot about plants. And that was his profession. But he had been growing for 10 years at the time. Excuse me. And he was burnt out. And I don't know about any of you, but I get burnt out sometimes. And I know I'm burnt out when I stop doing the things I'm supposed to do. Like if I'm supposed to spray the plants, I won't do it that day. I'll do it tomorrow. And when I get like that, I know I need a break. But he had been growing for 10 years. And he was like, I'm done with this. And I was like, well, shoot, man, if you're done with it, I'll buy your equipment. And he sold me his equipment. He sold me one light, 400 watt HPS. He didn't have a metal halide bulb. I guess it had burnt out. So he gave me the bulb, the fixture, and the ballast. And he had some what were called aqua farms at the time. They're just those water farms. They have 2 buckets, one inside the other, and you use the clay pebbles and have the drip ring. He sold me that equipment. And when I asked him questions about how much nutrients I was supposed to use and stuff, he just told me, oh, just use what it says on the back of the bottle. And that was that General Hyponics 3-part, you know, the micro and the pink and the green, the bloom and the grow. And He didn't want to give me any information at all. And so I grew my first crop and it grew. But when I tried to smoke that stuff, it was horrible because I didn't know you were supposed to flush or anything like that. And he wasn't giving up that information. And so I was reading a book in the library because I was afraid to buy the book. That's how long ago it was. I was afraid to buy the book because I didn't want anybody to know what I was doing. And I, in the book, it said something about flushing. So when I talked to the guy again, I said, I was reading something that says that I should actually flush all of these nutrients out. And then he goes, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And, that was really messed up. So, there was a lot of people were holding on to the information. They didn't want to share it at all. So I'm glad that there are people out there who will share information. And that's why I share information, because when I went online and saw that there were actually people who were willing to help you, I was like, that's a beautiful thing. I'm going to do that too. So I'm going to scroll back a little bit and look at some of the comments. Yeah, Devo says, Baby J and 420 Girl was the only really people to help me with my first girl in the community. Bless up. What's up, Mordays? I can't even pronounce it. I'm just gonna say MAM. You got your acronym would be MAM. I'm just gonna call you ma'am because I can't say that. But they say happy 420, everybody from Germany. 420 girl, I'm super burned out. I can't just stop. I think I have an addiction to growing. And that is true. Cannabis is not supposed to be addicting, but growing cannabis definitely is addicting. Because even when I get burnt out and I stop, I immediately want to. After about a month, I'm like ready to grow again. And if I wait longer than that, then I start to feel weird because I don't have plants growing. People says, one day, Baby J, I was live. I asked, was 77% humidity was good in flower? She said, you need a humidifier. Well, I would have said the opposite. You need a dehumidifier if you're at 77%. 420 grow 420 diaries, Baby J. A lot of older growers that I personally know back in the day say the same thing. People were so stingy with information. Yeah, they were. They were. 420 girls, thankful for you all. I know you've all read this already, but I'm just scrolling, reading them. Let me catch up. Baby J feels the same way. Soil Biata says, that's messed up. I'm glad you ran with the fam on IG and I was spreading that no-till soil method. Yeah, the first person I heard no-till from was the brown guy 420. And he was an interesting story because he was sharing information and he was even reading from the book Teaming from Microbes. And he got involved with the commercial business. And I think they told him, hey, you're giving up too many secrets. If you're going to work with us, we don't want you making these videos anymore. So he shut down his channel and removed all his videos. Sometimes you can find them through the back door. Yeah, that spell check on the phone is a monster. What's up, Ape Allen? To recommend a book, I would say you really don't need a book. You can just get the information on YouTube. You can. Should you can ask me. You can ask people on this um, on this chat. But I would say this: two books I would recommend. True Living Organics by the Rev, and the other one is Teaming with Microbes, and of course the old school Marijuana Growers Handbook. Just about any book's going to be good, but you can get this information on YouTube. You can ask me anything that you need to know, and if I have the information, double A, I will give it to you free of charge. You don't have to buy anything. 55 to 60% humidity, perfect range for flower. That is perfect for your beginning stages of flower. But towards the end, you really want to get down to about 40, 45, between 40 and 50. 50 is fine. Yeah, I don't think you should be up at 60 though. Kelly Hill, you don't flush growing in soil. You can't, especially with living organics. Now, if you're using bottles, you can flush that bottled nutrient out because that's plant available nutrients. So if the plant's not using it, it's still in the soil, and it's also, of course, in overabundance in your plant tissue. With living organics, in particularly, when you have all of your nutrients processed by living soil, that means the nutrients go into your plants in the form of plant metabolites. And plant metabolites are what's supposed to be in the plant. When you are feeding your plants pre-digested organic nutrients or synthetic nutrients, that is what is in your plant, not soil, not microbial metabolites. That's what you want your plants feeding on. And when you do that, then there's no need to flush. Okay, Debo, you meant dehumidifier. Okay, you said it like 3 times. Okay, bro. Okay. What up, Matthew? Or you guys got some beautiful names, but I am not in the mood to read anything. So hello from Montreal. What's up, Ralphie Jr.? Happy 420. What's up, Ralph Jr.? Yeah, 37 to 40 is great for a 20 girl. Research I've done, or research other people have done that I've came across, are suggesting that you should be a little bit higher in the beginning. Yeah, Kelly, if you're growing with organic amendments in cocoa and stuff, and you got that those microbes providing your food for your plants, then yeah, you shouldn't have to flush, but just make sure you're not giving any bottles. What's up, Growing and Grind? What's up, Happy 420? Yeah, when you say you're keeping other plants alive, if you mean house plants and other things like that, that is a beautiful thing. Cannabis is challenging, and it's strain related. There are some strains that are easier to grow. There's some strains that are intermediate and some that are difficult to grow. In this last grow that I grew, I would say everything I grew was, I think the Romulan it says it's intermediate, and I would agree with that because there's a lot of branching. You have to support. You got to do a lot of support for these plants. The lemongrass, I think, was on the easy side. It didn't branch off as much, but once the buds got pretty heavy and full, they did start to fall over. And the dozy doe, the plants grew kind of slow, and they were kind of small, so I had to elevate them an extra foot to make the canopy even. They needed a lot of support once the buds got fat, but even though they were small plants, they produced some pretty fat buds. Catch you later, 420 girl. Yeah, when you time your amendments, I guess that works really well for you. I'm assuming that with the cocoa, you're top dressing. And if your soil is a living organic soil, it really shouldn't matter. Even if I top dressed relatively late in the cycle, the plants would still be okay because they're only going to take what they require. Most of the nutrients are going to be insoluble. So that means that they're just going to be in the soil and the plant's not going to be metabolizing it. And the soil life also will wait for the plant to demand that nutrient before they'll start processing it. So that's why, you really don't have to worry about flushing. Yeah, I think that's pretty good, Debo. Have it up a little bit higher in the beginning. I've read that you can even have it as high as 70 in the beginning. Okay, I've taken long enough break. All right, I'll get back to work. So already getting close to 2 o'clock my time. I definitely want to have this done today. Although if it has to wait till tomorrow, then it just has to wait till tomorrow. But I really don't want to trim all day today. I really don't. I'm burnt out. Mrs. J is at work. She has a essential profession, so she can't help. Plus, you know how it is. Sometimes when you trim, just everything smells like buds. Your clothes. If you have a briefcase or something like that, you open up your briefcase, and cannabis could just be pouring out of your clothes, your pores, your hair. So I kind of didn't want her to really put our business, put her business. She can select who she wants to know her business. She doesn't need to go to work totally reeking. And even if sometimes you can't smell it, and people know they'll give you that little smile. It's like the same smile you give somebody when you smell it. And like, let's say you get in the elevator and somebody is reeking, especially if they smell like fresh cannabis, like they grow it, right away. You'd be like, oh, smell good. Give them a little wink and stuff. Let them know that it's cool. What's up, Leo H? What's up, Gorilla Grower? Happy 420. What's up, Mr. Nice One? Alan, have you invested any money in your system? Have you purchased any equipment as far as lights and pots? And are you going to go with a living organic soil, or do you want to try hydro? What's your plan? Because if you are going to do this, it's best to have a plan and some things you need to plan for. You got to plan for pests because you want a clean water source. If you have to filter the water, you're going to have to filter the water. In particular, with living organics, you should filter your water. I don't recommend reverse osmosis, although a lot of people use it, only because it wastes a lot of water. But if you have a reverse osmosis system, of course, you should use it as opposed to ordinary tap. So it's things you got to plan for. Also, you got to plan for the work that you have to do. You got to plan for where you're going to store this cannabis. You need a place to grow, and you need a place to dry. And if you're going to grow continuously, that can't be the same area. That's why I have to shut down when I dry. And then once I finish drying and I put the cannabis in its curing process, then I can start growing again. But if you got the room for, to have multiple rooms, or if you're using tents or something, you can do things perpetually. You can do a continuous grow. And that's, for me, I got a lot of respect for the people who do it. I've done it before. I can't dedicate that much of my time. I just can't. I need breaks. For those who breed and stuff like that, they just got things going on constantly. I can't do that. I got all the respect for those who can. My thing is to just produce high quality cannabis for me and Mrs. J. And for a few family and friends. That's why, you don't see me trying to breed and stuff like that. If I find something that's good, I just want to grow that and have just have a few good varieties, or I should say a few great varieties. In breeding, I think people can produce some good cannabis. But one thing I do understand is that when you do breed, it's like your children. You only can pass on half the genetics. Some are going to be recessive. And so there's no guarantee what you're going to get. So generally, when I find something I like, I'll try to keep growing that. Lemongrass, if you're asking me what the genetics are, I would tell you this. Go to Dark Heart Nursery's website, and you can look up what lemongrass is. Because I don't remember what the crosses are. But I believe it is a indica dominant hybrid. It's an 8-week strain. What's up, Slow Burner? Happy 420 to you. Everybody would be at festivals and cannabis competitions and concerts and out just having a great time today. If it wasn't for Rona. So yeah, you should look up lemongrass. Dark Heart Nursery's website will tell you exactly what it is. It'll also tell you about the Romulan that I'm growing. The other strain, which is Dozy Doe, is from Purple City Genetics. And you can also go to their website and look up that information. Lemongrass is very good, though. I'm not sure which one of these is going to be my favorite. They're all pretty good. But I can't wait to actually smoke it. Like I said, I microwaved it, so it's not giving me any of the terp profiles, at least a realistic sample of the terps and the flavonoids. But the potency is there. And if you haven't looked at my grow, you know that I do use UVB lights. Now, there are even some newer LEDs that are supposed to emit UVB It's my understanding that the diodes can't produce enough UVB to really make a difference. That might change or it might be inaccurate, but that is my understanding. But I provide UV light with SolarCure fluorescent tubes. And I have recommended those two before, and one of the people I recommended to has told me that he definitely has seen an increase in the THC and the potency of his bud by using those lights. Yeah, apparently there's gonna be some gatherings on the East Coast down there in Florida if the governor gets his way. I heard I heard that they already opened up some beaches and things like that, and people are running out there. Okay. Okay, Alan, you should what kind of light do you have? Let's be specific. Let's be specific. We can we can set you off in the right direction right now. Let's find out what kind of light you have. And also, do you plan to grow in soil? Do you plan to grow? What medium do you plan to use? All right. We finished our ninth plant. So I'm going to go put all of this in the drying room, which is the grow room, drying room / grow room. And I'll get some more cannabis. Okay. Got more cannabis. So I don't know You can see this, but this is what comes off of one branch. You can see how the branching of the Romulan is very elaborate. Sup, S&M? My opinion of the Romulan is good. It's good. It's that old school Romulan. And that was my issue. I didn't know whether or not it was going to be the true Romulan that I remembered. And it seems to be. But like I said, I haven't smoked it in its real form, you know, without being microwaved, because of course I'm just cutting it down. So we'll see over the next week or so. It'll start to dry, and I can sample it and see how it is. And then, of course, after the cure, it's going to be really good. All right, Kelly Hill. Check y'all later. Peace, my brother. The bud with these gloves on. So yeah, I just wanted to come on live, say hi to you guys on 420. Get a little bit of company while I'm in this trim jail. Just can't invite my buddy over to help me do this. I'll tell you one thing, trimming indoor plants, even the plants like this that have a lot of branches, is still a lot easier than trimming outdoor plants. These Romulans, though, they did kind of grow like an outdoor plant, a lot of branching. You know, very surprising, you know, to only top them once. And then they eventually they have like 20 branches each. Now, not all the branches give really thick buds, but they're all solid buds. And I still think this run I should have top dressed better. Although, you know, as the plants got mature, they did fatten up a lot. I've grown, of course, many colas bigger than these, but you know, that's all strain related, of course. But I still think if I would have had the health of these plants at its peak during the veg period, I'd be even yielding more. And I still think it's going to be a very good yield. You know, these things were little. They weren't little. You know, this is just a branch, so they weren't little. I think they're about 3 feet tall and pretty wide plants. A lot of branching on them, a lot of buds, a lot of bud sites. So I wouldn't call them little. For maybe for outdoor plants, they're little, but pretty good sized indoor plants. All except the dozy doe. The dozy doe were small plants. Well, Alan, Alan, what I would say is this: the light should say on it what kind of light it is. Um, do some research, look up the light, and find out what the specs of it are, and then that'll kind of give you an idea of how good it is. You know, there's a lot of videos on YouTube in particular about lighting. Trying to think of the guy's name. I can't think of the guy's name. It's like Everest or something like that. And the guy does a lot of videos on lighting and on grow room specs and things like that, on equipment, on growing issues, things that have to do with the plant's equipment, environment. I can't think of the guy's name, but you can Google just about any information. Yeah, Everest Fernandez. Exactly, Leo. Exactly. That's the guy. And Alan, if you want a lot of information, you can get it from him. And I would say this, as a new grower, I would say this: it's better that you start off with a high quality light, because if you start off, in my opinion, if you start off with like a lower quality light, you'll be getting your feet wet. But if you don't really get a good return, it might deter you from wanting to grow. So I would say, if anything, make sure you invest in a high quality light. And and I'm not exactly sure what would be like the smallest, cheapest light to start with, but if you have some money to invest, definitely get you some good lights. Start there. If you get the good lights, you're gonna have a good crop, as long as you do everything else right. You don't want to start off with something inadequate, in my opinion. You know, a relatively cheap alternative to like the higher end LEDs is LECs. Those are the lights I use as mainly. I just started using the Mars Hydro LED, but I should say relatively inexpensive compared to the higher end ones. There's two kind of CMH or LEC. There's one that there's a kind that have a horizontal orientation and the kind that have a vertical orientation. And believe it or not, the vertical orientation ones are the better choice because they deliver less heat to the garden. So it's easier to control your environment. And the reflector that they use, I think is the best reflector. And that would be a sun system. And when it comes to ceramic metal halide or LEC, which is light emitting diode or light emitting ceramics, excuse me, they may be on the higher end of those lights in pricing, but it is a high quality light, and you'll like your results from one of those lights. They use 315 watts. I use two of them in my garden, and I've used them for several years now, since 2016. So I've just completed really 4 years. And they give you about the production of a 600 watt HPS. The second suggestion, okay, let me go back. I want to see what that's. Oh, okay. Vegging indoors with seed. It's going to depend on your height requirement, on your height limitations and your space limitations. In general, I would like to probably veg or grow a plant from seed in my setup, maybe about 4 to 5 weeks from the time that the seed comes out of the comes out of the soil, sticks his head out or whatever. From the time it breaks the soil, I think I would want to probably go about 4 to 5 weeks. But it also depends on how fast the plant grows, because not all plants grow at the same rate, and they don't grow the same form. So if you look at my last grow, you can see I started everything at the same time. They were clones, of course, but you see some of them grew at a much faster rate than the other ones did. In particular, the grow I did before this one, you'll see complete differences in the structure and the heights of those plants, where they vary from like 2.5 feet to almost 5.5 feet tall, all beds the same amount of time in the same container, same soil, all factors being the same. The rates of growth were vastly different. But this Romulan, you can some tops. This is kind of one of the larger tops of the Romulan. It's not the biggest tops I've ever grown, of course, but it's very dense. It's got a lot of weight to it. I've grown buds that were much bigger, but they're fluffier. Probably everybody has who is out there growing. And I like the denser stuff better. Every now and then there's some fluffy stuff that I like, but it's been my experience that the fluffier the buds, and that it's usually not as good as the stuff that is denser. But that's just been my experience with the strains that I have grown. Others may tell you something different. So yeah, your light's going to be very, very important. So find out about your light. It should say on your light what kind of light you have, and get information on that light so you know exactly what to expect from it. And if you can, see if you can find reviews on it. Take a little bit of the guesswork out. And if you find you have to invest in a better light, then that's where you should spend your money first, is on the high quality lights. And then you also have to worry about your environmental control. So you need to have the equipment and infrastructure in your garden to control the environment. So the way most of us do that, of course, is with dehumidifiers or humidifiers and air conditioning, especially if you live in a place that gets hot in the summer, which is the time that we're approaching. And you got to be ready for that. You got to have that stuff ready to go. And the other thing I got to tell you is, when you finish your product, if you live in a hot climate, a place that is really, really warm in the summertime, and that's when you harvest, you have to invest money in a controlled drying room. I can tell you that I had a whole summer's worth of work ruined because the person whose house we were drying at didn't run their air conditioner. And it really, really messed up the quality of that bud. And that was the last crop that I actually grew using bottled newts. It was oh wait, was it? Let me go back. Let me think again. Is that the Shark Shock? Oh, actually, you know what? It was the first crop that I grew with Subcool Super Soil. I grew some Granddaddy Purple, some Ken's Granddaddy Purple, some I don't know why I can't think of the name of the strain, but it was another purple strain. Can't even think of it. And the other strain was Shark Shock. And because they didn't run the air conditioner and the temperatures of the house was, or actually the temperatures, I don't know what the temperatures of the house was because I wasn't there. But I know that the temperatures in the community at the time were like 107, 110, and they weren't even at home, and they just left the house and left it all hot and stuff, and it ruined that whole crop, ruined the whole summer worth of work. Yeah, Leo, you gotta use high quality light. You need high efficiency light in flowering in particular. Oh, you're talking about, okay, slow burner. If you're talking about this Romulan, you're right on both accounts. It's exactly what I'm smelling. It's a sweet pine smell, and it should have a really sweet piney taste too. So it's both sweet. It's a sweet pine. It smells really good, just like I remember. It's funny how you can remember. It's like I can remember just about what every really, really good experience I had with bud. I remember every good strain that I ever smoked. I remember what it tastes like. It's like just stamped into my brain. So it's like, if I think about it, I can just close my eyes and imagine what some Acapulco Gold or some chocolate Thai or just some classic Thai stick tastes like and smelled, and what the original indicas that were being grown in Mendocino and Humboldt County. I can remember those flavors. And just about every really exceptional strain that I've ever smoked, I can remember those characteristics. So even though it's been over a decade since I've smoked some real Romulan, I don't know how long it's been. It's probably been maybe something like 15 years, something like that. Even though it's been that long, I still remember what it smelled and tastes like. What you guys smoking on? If you haven't commented already, please hit the like button if you like what's going on. What's up, LED Grown Medical Garden? What's up? What's up? What's up? You know what, Leo? To me, 4 weeks. Sometimes it's 3, but 4 weeks. And it's almost weird because if I taste something like on day 25, on day 28, it's better than it was on day 25. And I think that's my threshold, 4 weeks. That's why I try to take, if I don't have anything already to smoke, that's why I take a little bit of my harvest, about enough to last a month. And we'll just smoke that uncured. You know, sometimes Mrs. J will be like, it's not ready yet. But she don't sound like that. But she'll be like, it's not ready yet. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but you know, it's better than going out buying it. And it's going to be better than anything we buy, even though it hasn't been cured. So 4 weeks, 28 days. And I think you're good to go. So take some and put it aside and just smoke that and just keep the curing process going methodically with the bulk of your harvest, and be patient. What's up, LED? Over here. What's up, Coolin 60 HBK? That's sour diesel. I haven't smoked that in a while. I kind of used to like sour diesel. Some of the more recent phenols that I've tried, I haven't liked. They gave me a headache. So I don't know. You know, sometimes I get skeptical of labeling sometimes. Years ago, there was a big issue with labeling of clones in particular, and some really reputable outlets were notoriously infamous for not providing um, authentic strains. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but if you were here, you know. The place that was really, really good to get clones was Oaksterdam. They used to actually have a place in Oakland called the Blue Sky Cafe. And the Blue Sky Cafe is where they sold their clones, and they had some of the best strains. I remember this strain called Mango. It was so good. Still one of the best strains I ever grew, and one of the best harvests. And I only grew one plant, and it wasn't that big, but it was so delicious. And I didn't even grow that using Living Organics. I was still using liquid bottled newts, but it came out really well. So when you hear me talking about Living Organics, understand that I know that you can grow high quality cannabis with other methods. I just think this is the easiest way, and I think it's the best. I think it's the best. The other ways are good too. And if you're not as picky as me, and you're not a person who is really, really adamant about what they put in their body, then it might not even matter. But I do think you get better flavor of living organics. Yeah, it's these sativas, and I think hey, much love from Lebanon, says Hamu. What's up, Hamu? Hope I'm pronouncing that right. What's up, Ray Roderick? San Antonio. It's kind of funny because years ago, a lot of, at least what was available in Northern Cali, it all was sativa because there was a lot of Colombian gold, um, a lot of strains from by the equator, and also some African strains were available. And they were all sativas. And I remember the first time I smoked some indica, one of my good buddies provided me with some, and and he just said it was called indica. That was the only name, because most of the time, unless it was like one of those really famous strains, you never really knew what you were smoking. It was either brown weed or green weed, and it was just weed. You're just happy to have it. But it wasn't like you could just go up to a store and buy it. But they were mostly sativas. And then I got to smoke some real Indo. I remember it just blew me away. The flavor was intense, and the high was just different than any other high I'd ever had. It was that body high. Now, when we used to smoke that Buddha Thai and stuff like that, the rumor was that it was dipped in opium. But I do know it would definitely have you tied to a seat. That's what a joker used to say. The Thai stick would have you tied to a seat, to a chair. And so it was intense. So I don't know if it was dipped in opium or not. But that first indica was just an eye opener. And after that, everybody wanted to claim that their bud was indica, whether it was or not, the people selling it, I should say, because nobody was really growing it. But it seems like most of the stuff I smoked back then didn't give me a headache. The only thing that really gave me a headache back then was Acapulco Gold. And that was some bud that was like yellow. I mean, just straight up yellow. It was always really, really dry. And it always gave me a headache especially if I smoked like too much of it. It was definitely going to give me a headache. But usually I could get by with smoking about a half a joint or something, and I'd be fine. Any more than that, then I'd have a really bad headache. And now, a lot of this sativas now and some of the hybrids are headachy to me. And I think I attribute that to breeding. I think when people really started breeding a lot and they started gravitating towards what things looked like and how much they produced and stuff, and of course, money being the main factor in anything, I think a lot of good characteristics were bred out of those sativas as they were trying to change them and trying to mix characteristics of different land races and different crosses. I think that created these sativas that really I don't do well by at all. Okay, I just finished another pile. So I'm gonna grab me some more cannabis to trim. I'll be right back. Hey, Hamu, you're not joking about that hash, because we used to get that Lebanese hash. Let me make sure that's where you told me you were from. I believe that's where you said you were from, was Lebanon. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, you did say Lebanon. Yeah, we used to get that Lebanese hash. We used to get it, and if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of like almost like black and had like these gold flakes in it. I might be wrong about that. That might have been a different kind, because we used to also get this like blonde hash. Um, we used to get three kinds of hash. You used to get a blonde one. One was kind of like a reddish color. All right, Leo, we'll check you out later, bro. Um, yeah, had a reddish color. Then we had that we'd get that really gooey black um, hash that had those like gold flakes in it. And I believe that was Lebanese hash, but I could be wrong. So hopefully you all are having a good 420. Hopefully you got something good to smoke on. If it's organic, even better. But if it's whatever it's, you're getting high, you're enjoying yourself the best that you can under these circumstances, more power to you. And I'm happy for you. And hopefully one day we can all come out of our houses, and I would hope that the world would change a little bit and become a better place, a more people oriented place. But so far, I'm not seeing that. In some ways, this whole commotion is bringing out, it's not bringing out the best in everybody. That's for sure. You know, if you are an essential worker, you're out there doing your jobs. Um, I have all the respect for you in the world. I'm praying and hoping that you remain safe, practice your social distancing, wear your mask, definitely wear your mask, and wash your hands. Don't make me sing that song again. Wash your hands. You got to wash your hands with soap and water, with warm water for 20 seconds. And if you don't know, if you can't count to 20, sing the alphabet song. So don't make me sing it again. What's up, little Willie? I'm over over here in trim gel on 420. Trying to get this done. I'm on my 11th plant. I have one more to go after this one, but I'm only about halfway. I don't even think I'm halfway done with this plant. I think I'm maybe a third of the way, or at least I have a third of the table on my, excuse me, a third of the plant on my table that I'm trimming right now. So we've been on about almost 2 hours now. I'm probably going to sign off pretty soon because got to speed this up. What's up with you, little Willie? How was your day going? What are you smoking on, little Willie? That used to be a nickname of a guy I used to sit next to in homeroom. His nickname was Little Willie. I thought you asked me about the Turk tea last time, SM. I like the Turk tea. I think it's good. It's got a lot of good ingredients in it. A lot of good ingredients. So I recommend it. I highly recommend it. I haven't used it really as a standalone, but with my last grow, I did top dress with it, and I didn't top dress with a lot of the other things I would top dress with. And what I noticed was that, at least in my opinion, there was a drop off in the health. I felt like my plants weren't praying like they normally would. I felt like the health of the leaves and the sheen of the leaves wasn't what it normally is. So I don't think I would use Turk tea standalone. Has a ingredient in my soil mix or has a top dress. I think what I would do is still use a very diverse amount of ingredients or number of ingredients, a diverse number of ingredients. I would like to add with the Turk tea, excuse me, BioLive, Down to Earth All Purpose, Insect Frass. And now I'm thinking about even bokashi, the salt, adding things like that. And the top dress, don't use the Turk tea as a standalone, in my opinion. Because when I top dress with more, I felt like my last grow, the plants were a lot healthier. I think by the end of this cycle, I think though the health of the plants had kind of recovered to a certain extent. I usually don't have any deficiencies at all. I'm using my soil mix and in this no-till situation. I haven't seen any deficiencies until this run. Candy, just like candy. Happy 420. I was gonna sign off pretty soon, but just because you're here, I'm gonna stay longer. Mrs. J doesn't know it, but Candy's my girlfriend. I don't know if Candy know it. You're my girlfriend. Trim gel, yeah. Trim gel. And I've been I trimmed I trimmed on and off yesterday for probably ooh, I'd say about 8 hours. And they wanted me to watch a movie with her. So I stopped and I watched the movie with her in the middle of what I was doing. Happy wife, happy life. And that slowed me up. And after that, I kind of wanted to sit around even more. So I probably stopped trimming for about 3 hours yesterday. And then I started up again and I didn't finish, or I shouldn't say I finished because I hadn't finished. I didn't stop till like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was burnt out. My back hurt. I was tired. And I just went to sleep. And then Mrs. J was going to work. So she was walking around slamming things, slamming doors. And she always gets uptight when she's going to go to work. And so she's slamming everything and waking me up. And so I'm a bit spent. I'm a bit spent. What's up, GH? What's up, Bio Greens? Insect Frass is a very good additive, Lil Willie. It's very good. Um, I always encourage people, if you really, really want to know something, the information is out there and it's very easy to find. Type into your computer, what are the benefits of insect frass, and you'll get a really, really good list of sources. But insect frass is it's like a moderate nutrient. It's 222, but it has chitin, and it also provides um, protozoa into your soil. And even if you add it to your tea, to your compost tea, it helps provide protozoa and I believe nematodes and stuff too, beneficial nematodes. Medically Fit just did a soil recipe video. I think he aired it yesterday or the day before yesterday. I can't remember when I watched it. It might have been yesterday. Um, in that video, he's using insect frass and he explains really, really well the things that it does. But it does have chitin and it also acts as a deterrent for insects. At least that's one of the claims. I've used it in them, and it didn't stop me from getting like russet mites or fungus gnats. So that claim I don't really support. That it works as a natural bug deterrent. If there are bugs that it deters, fine. Well, some of the most detrimental ones it didn't, or bothersome ones it didn't deter those. No, my hands is cool. My hands are cool. I got the kind of spring loaded scissors, so at least you don't have to half the work, half the finger work is done. Stuck Stuck Dolo says for 420 I've been really farting. I've been really high and farting in my dog's face all day today. I think you can pass the corona that way, man. I don't think you should be farting in your dog's face. I'm just kidding. But you open up the door, sometime I go through it. Say your dog digs it when you fart in its face. Well, hey, your dog is a dog. So yeah, I'm sure your dog gets a big kick out of you farting in its face. I haven't had a dog since I was 12 years old. Last time I had a dog. I've never owned a dog as an adult. I've had a couple of cats though. One cat, a girlfriend, um, um, forced on me. I can't remember where she came over my house with that cat and was like, and she named it Tough. It's an orange tabby. Cat was cool. Cat was cooler than she was. And Cat was with me longer than she was. I was with her for like I think 5 months, and then I was with the cat for I had the cat for 3 years. So the cat scratched me when I was trying to take it to the vet in a rainstorm and ran off, and I couldn't find it. And that's the last I ever saw that cat. But my hands are okay. You know, the hand that I'm not cutting with is actually a little bit more fatigued because it's holding the branches as I trim. Yeah, you know the skeletal remains. The first bag of insect fast I ever bought had live mealworms in it, and it was a trip because I was making some compost tea from it. Because the very first time I got insect grass, it was while in the middle of a grow. So I used it as a soil drench, and I also top dressed with it, and I used it in compost tea. And I was I had put the insect grass in the water before brewing, and I noticed something floating in the water, and it was moving, and it was mealworms, which the brand of insect grass is made from mealworm poop. So there was actually live mealworms in that first bag that I bought. So I called the company and everything. I was like, "Is that supposed to happen?" And they were like, "Well, no," but I was like, "Well, it happened in mine." But every bag of insect fresh that I bought since has not had live mealworms in it. I heard there's one that's, I guess, from Lace Wings that's supposed to be better, but I don't know if that's true or not. I know it is a good thing to add to your soil or to your compost teas. You can use it as a soil drench. So, Candy, you were supposed to get at me about those land races. And you can email me at biobud29 at gmail for my mailing address if you intend to send some of those to me. If you can't, that's okay. I still love you. But I'm really interested in growing some land races. Um, if you have a indica land race, that would be better because I know some of the sativas you really got to flower them sometimes. And I really don't want to grow something um, that will take 14 weeks to flower. I don't. If I had a perpetual grow or something like that, then I do something like that. I actually have a couple of seeds that I got those from Permanently High, and I've been sitting on these for about maybe 3 years now. And they're they're crosses with something, but they're the lamb race that they're crossed with is Malawi, and I think they're supposed to take 12 to 14 weeks to flower. I really don't want to grow something that takes that long, unless I had a perpetual grow. Well, if they're still waiting for me, like I said, you can email me, biobud29 at gmail, and we can exchange some information. I'd appreciate it. So, Candy, I told you you got to hold your camera Sideways, but you haven't held your camera sideways yet. I think the horizontal orientation just shows more of what you're trying to show. Now, you can keep doing it the way you are doing it. I'm still going to watch. But you can just put more in your shot just by turning your phone sideways. You know, everybody's like, hey, I come on Bio's channel, he start chastising me. I'll be getting on my case. I just got love for you, so you know. I've never been one to shy away from saying what I feel. I try to have tact, though. Just because you're right don't always mean you should say something. And I think you should always try to show finesse in communicating with people, unless unless they don't warrant it. You know, sometimes you gotta tell some people you gotta get with some people sometimes. You gotta show them that side. You know, oh my gosh, I didn't know. I mean, yeah. Sometimes you gotta get with people like that. Some people you gotta be that way, but I try not to be, unless you know. I don't use my Wonder Twin powers unless I have to. What's up, cannabis legalization news? Happy 420 to you. You got your slaps in too, okay? Yes, Asomo fame, I have used biochar. Matter of fact, biochar is in my no-till containers. And I charged it first. I made a compost tea. It was supposed to be pre-charged, but I still made a compost tea. And I put the biochar in the compost tea and I let it stay in the compost tea for 2 weeks. And I know something special was happening because generally, if you let compost tea sit around for 2 weeks, it will smell like boo boo. But this never ever started to smell, and it was kind of like emitting these little bubbles and stuff were coming up to the surface. And like I said, I let it stay in that compost tea for 2 weeks, and then I mixed it in with my soil. So although I have not added any more, yes, I am using biochar. Um, I plan to have an outdoor this year. I don't know if they're ever going to lift the quarantine because I have to do the outdoor at someone else's place. But when we mix the soil for the outdoor, we will definitely be adding biochar to that too. So I've grown without biochar and been very, very successful. So it's one of those things that I don't think you have to have. You know, when it comes to growing, you don't need everything to have a successful grow. So I've grown pretty. So as far as how good it is and what it's actually doing, I only know what the claims are. I haven't done like a side by side with the same strains, with everything being the same except for that factor. So I can't say, you know, how many of the claims are true. But I will say this: my philosophy generally is, if I hear something's good, I'm trying it. So especially when it came to my soil mix. That's why there's so many ingredients in it. I just heard this was good, that was good, this was good, that was good. And I just started adding those things. One thing you might notice if you ever do look at my soil mix videos is I use more compost than most people do. I add a lot of compost to my soil mix. I start off with a pre-made soil. I've used Roots Organic Original in the past, and I have gravitated towards Groundswell Mother Earth. And I would say if you make your own base soil, then add these things in the same amount, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's a lot of compost. I basically take a 1.5 cubic foot bag of soil and I add 6 gallons of soil. Excuse me, 6 gallons of compost. And well, let me rephrase. I add 4 gallons of compost and 2 gallons of earthworm castings. But it's 6 gallons of organic material to basically just under 10. So effectively changing 10 gallons of soil to 16 gallons of soil. So it's a lot of compost. And I think that makes a difference. I really do. And if the composts are diverse, I think it's even better. But yeah, I definitely I've used biochar. But I don't think you need it. So Candy, you got a Mars Hydro 600. How do you like that light? If you're still with us, Candy. I know a lot of people when they're in trim gel, they like sometimes they do their trimming in their garden. My garden is dark right now. I got all the plants drying in there now, so that's why we're not in there. This is where I like to trim anyway, although it does make the place smell like cannabis. Got to move all the clothes out of I'm in the dining area next to the living room and kitchen, and can't have any clothes out here or any of our work bags or anything like that because that smell will be inside of them and inside your clothes and stuff. Sometimes I think my hair even starts to smell when I'm trimming. Yeah, I have that TS 1000, and I put it in the middle, and I think it did pretty good because I was flirting with buying another ceramic metal halide and putting it in that area, which would, of course, would add another 315 watts to my light bill. This TS 1000 uses half that amount. I guess it's about 150. And I think it did pretty good. I think the bud, the branches that were in its footprint produced some nice buds. The dozy dough that was right under it really looked nice. So I've been trimming now for about, I think close to 4 hours now. And I got one more plant after the one I'm currently doing. So like I was saying, this Romulan It really, really branches out a lot. See if I can move this over so you can see it. See all of this. This is like off of I think 4 branches, but each branch grows a lot of side branches. So all of this just came off of 4 branches. I still have, I think, about 3 more off of this plant. No, that is a Romulan. That is Romulan. If you look at my updates, it's the plants that were all the way to the left. Yeah, they came out pretty good. I thought they were really small at first, but as the plant matured, they fattened up. You know, it's just those kind of buds. They're not the hugest, but they're really nice and solid, and it's got that sweet piney taste. And to be honest, I microwaved some of it, and it was really good. So now I just, of course, gotta wait for it to dry. And that's the one thing about growing. It's like you gotta have a lot of patience. Thank you, Bio Greens. And hey, I'm gonna try some of that KNF. I I'm just curious. Do you need a lot of space to make all of this stuff? Because um, it seems like when I was watching a couple of the videos, the guy's outside. He's in a big space and he's got a bunch of different things, and I kind of don't have the space to really do it. I remember one time I was making my own kombucha. That was messy enough. If you ever made your own kombucha, which I highly recommend if you got the space, because you will save a lot of money. And you can make some kombucha that actually tastes much better than anything you can buy, for sure. Yeah, patience and discipline. Yeah, Panland, the microwave. The way I do that, and I'm not saying you don't want to do your top buds with it or anything, but you take a pretty decent bud, maybe something like this. You can see that's off the bottom of this little cola, and or even something further down the plant, and you put it between you manicure it, you put it between paper towel, fold a paper towel, put it between that, and you microwave it on low power 1 minute at a time, and you flip it over at the completion of each minute. And it'll take about 10 minutes or 10 cycles for the bud to dry. And you don't want to dry it to the point where it's crispy, where it's all dried out. You want it kind of still a little bit moist. You'll know when it's right because it'll feel like a nicely dried but kind of semi-moist bud. And you can take that, chop it up, and then you can smoke that. And it won't be as good as, of course, if you dry it the right way. But it's a way you can sample your buds. And particularly if you run out, and you just harvested, at least you can smoke some of it like today. So I'm out. Well, I'm not out. I still have some of the AFGUI from the last cycle, but I really don't like it. I really don't like it. So I don't know what it is. I think they may have mix-ups at this dispensary. Happy 420 Ace 300. I don't think you need a lot of room to grow, but I was talking about for KNF, a lot of room to produce KNF concoctions. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, dry, limited amounts of cannabis quickly, and you can enjoy it today. It won't be as enjoyable as if you dry it the proper way and cure, of course. I mean, even if you get through your 4 to 5 days or week of drying where the bud is, you can actually start smoking it. That'll be better than microwaving. My favorite strain. It's like I can't really say one thing is my favorite strain. And I would say this, of the strains that some of my favorites is go way, way, way back. Um, Chocolate Thai will always be one of my favorites, and Thai stick in general, but in particular chocolate Thai, that Buddha Thai. Um, there used to be this bud. I don't know what strain it was, but we just called it Humboldt County because it was like the only strain we would get that was from Humboldt County. So it came at the same time every year, and it looked a lot like this. It looked a lot like this. It had a light green color like this, and long buds. The bud itself would be as long as this branch, and it was just super flavorful and really really good. That's one of my all-time favorites. But if there was a strain that I grew and it came from a bag, but the bud it came from was like this super purple weed, and it was super flavorful. It didn't have like a perfume taste like a lot of purples have now, but it was super flavorful, and it was a strain that I kept going for a few years. And when I shut down growing for a couple of years, I gave the strain to my buddy, and he stopped growing and didn't tell me. So when I was ready to grow again, I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna get some clones." He was like, "Oh man, I stopped growing," and we were like out of contact for about a year. And in that year, he lost the strains that I gave him. He didn't realize how important that was. Um, I think from recent years, Romulan was always one of my favorite, and Sherbert, Sunset Sherbert in particular, I like that, and White Widow was always a favorite of mine. At least the White Widow from about about 15 years ago. That White Widow I really liked. Some stuff that I tried at dispensaries and stuff I didn't like. Um, the White Widow that I in particularly really liked was I had a friend who lived in who was from Oregon. We were in a band together. He was a guitar player, and if you're out there, Nate, saying hi to you, good guitar player from Canada, and he brought some really good bud. Brought me an ounce of some really good White Widow from Oregon, and it was loaded with seeds. And I wish I still had some, even though it was 15 years ago. Well, I shouldn't even say 15 years ago. It was 20 years ago. It was really, really good. I like Trainwreck, but the only thing I didn't like about Trainwreck was when I tried to grow it, it didn't. The yield was always really, really small, and the plants were really, really fragile, really like wimpy plants. I could never get a robust Trainwreck plant to grow. But that my methods and my experience as a grower at that time were limited. So perhaps if I try to grow it now, it might come out better. I got to go get some more cannabis to trim, so I'll be right back. I am back. Yeah, I like Fire OG. My partner, who I'm going to grow outdoors this year. She grew some fire OG last year. I helped her out, give her some pointers on the soil. I told her to make the B29 mix. She wouldn't do it. It's like, well, maybe I just do this first. Nah, she do sound like that. Maybe I just do this first. I was like, no, you should just do the whole soil mix. She didn't want to do the whole soil mix. So her plants came out pretty good, but I think it would have came out better if she would have did the entire soil mix. She only added part of the stuff that part of the ingredients. She's doing it indoor now. She made this. We went up there and made the soil the right way, and she's very, very pleased with the results so far. I think she's about in her 4th week of flower. That girl, that's what her handle will be when we start videotaping from her place. We become her that girl. She doesn't, well, maybe she does look a little bit like Marlo Thomas. If you know who that girl is, that was Marlo Thomas, a sitcom from the 60s. It's so old that I don't even remember when it, maybe I barely remember when it came on prime time. I'm old enough to remember when the Flintstones came on prime time. For those of you who do not know, the Flintstones was a primetime TV show when it first aired in the 60s. And also, it came on like, the Flintstones came on first and the Jetsons came on afterwards. But the Flintstones is older than the Jetsons. There's a few cartoons that came on at night. Johnny Quest came on at night. The Flintstones came on at night. The Jetsons came on at night. And there was this other cartoon that used to come on, at least in my area, came on Sundays. It was called Wait Till Your Father Comes Home. But I don't know if anybody else on here is old enough to remember when the Flintstones came on at night. What's up, Real Hill or Real HL? Bugs Bunny, Bugs Bunny and all of those Looney Tune cartoons were never intended for children. They were shorts that they played in between movies, just like the Three Stooges and the Little Rascals weren't TV shows. They were shorts that they showed in between the main features, and none of them were ever intended for children. Well, hey, keep it up, man. You'll only get better. You'll only get better. Growing, where's my mouse? Yeah, Ace 300. Yeah, keep it up. Yeah, I remember when cartoons were only on Saturday. And it was, when I was a kid, it was a big deal whenever the new cartoons came out. They would have a preview show on the Friday before the cartoons aired. On the Friday before the cartoons aired the very next day, on Sunday. What's up? Word up to your mother. Yeah, they used to show a few cartoons between the movies. If you're growing in your closet, growing in your closet is no different than growing in any other situation. You just have to monitor your environment. Make sure that your temperatures and your humidity are correct. And other than that, it's all the same. I mean, not other than that, including that, it's all the same. Like indoors is just indoors, whether it's in a tent, whether you're in a room. Each one will present a couple of different challenges. For instance, if your closet As long as you can seal your closet and make sure no light goes in, that's important that you don't have light leaks. Although I watched the video and I actually know for a fact that light leaks aren't the scourge that everybody thinks. If you have light coming into your grow room, as long as it doesn't exceed moonlight, you're okay. It is not shining directly on the plants. So a lot of times if you're using panda sheathing or some other type of shade cloth to block the light out, if there's like little bits of light like attach the sheathing to the wall, if there's a little bit of light coming out, it's not gonna it doesn't really cause any problems. It just can't be shining on the plants, and it should not be brighter than moonlight. I've never grown autos. I think I might one day. I'm not sure what the benefit of growing an auto is. I've seen some autos that seem like they produced a lot of bud though. But I've never smoked an auto. Just like up until recently, only in sampling the buds that I'm growing right now, have I ever smoked anything grown under a LED. So what is the average amount of time that your autos grow before they from start to finish? How many weeks will that take? Because if you compare that to this grow I just did, I vegged for 4 weeks and I flowered for 4 weeks. So this is exactly 12 weeks from the start. Exactly. Like the day after, which I started to trim yesterday. You know, I did 24-hour darkness period. I didn't do 48. I'm not even sure if that really makes a noticeable difference. If anybody out there really knows, if they've done the side by side to see if the longer darkness period really matters. All I can say is that I trimmed some Romulan yesterday, and then I'm trimming some today. So what I'm trimming today has been in the dark longer than what I trimmed yesterday. But I don't know which one's going to be better. You know, some different factors. You know, the plants being different, being in a slightly different location in the garden, and relative to the position of the lights, that may play a factor in the quality of each plant. Because believe it or not, even though you can have the same strains in a garden, that location relative to the light can have a difference in the ripeness, the bud size, and the quality. So if you have a plant that's, you know, off to the side and kind of out of the main footprint of the light, and even, you know, in a situation of, you know, with branches on the same plant being in the main footprint or out of the footprint of the light, there could be a market, you know, a definite difference in the quality on the same plant. Also, you know, if you have a plant that is exhibiting different quality on the same plant, like you can have a plant where some branches are maturing and others aren't, and there's like maybe even a deficiency on only part of the plant, that could mean you have root aphids. I've never had root aphids, thank goodness. I had just about everything else. So yeah, we're just trimming along, singing a song. So after this, I will be done. I got 3 more branches to trim off of this Romulan plant. Then I'll be done with the Romulan. Then I have 1 more lemongrass to do, the one that was kind of sick that had the small buds. And it's going to be a little bit of a chore to trim because it's got a lot of little branches. So I'm thinking about, okay, 79 days. So 79 days from start to finish is basically 11 weeks. So that's like about the same. I did, like I said, 4 weeks of veg and 8 weeks of flower, which is what, 56 plus 28, which is 84. So it's just 84 days as opposed to 79. So that's very similar. Of course, some varieties are longer. I could even have pushed these out another week, but I did start to see a little bit of powdery mildew, and which I had saw earlier, but I had combated it and kept it back, kept it from spreading. And the last couple of weeks, though, I didn't want to spray these plants with anything. I normally don't spray, anything after the second week of flower. But I did see the powdery mildew starting to form, and I had to address it. Things like that, you can't ignore it. You either got to throw out your plants or you got to attack it kind of aggressively. But I didn't want to use any chemicals or anything, so I used plant therapy, and I used hydrogen peroxide, where I just mixed 3% hydrogen peroxide with filtered water, and I treated the plants with that. And it kept it at bay for the most part, but over the last week, I started to see little patches again, so I knew I would have to cut this stuff down. So luckily we were able, or fortunately, I should say, we were able to at least get 8 weeks. Maybe the Romulan could have gone 9. It's very good right now. So I'm okay with only going 8 weeks. So I've only seen a little bit on some leaves here and there. But if you don't know, it can spread really, really fast. So if you ever see a teeny bit of it in your garden, even a teeny bit of it, you better start treating your plants right away. And if you're not in flower, I'd say just go for neem. Neem will kill it. It'll keep it at bay. But once you see it, it means that it is in the air because it has these airborne spores. And once you see a little bit of it, it's in the air. It's in your environment. So you got to attack it aggressively. Best thing to do is to remove whatever plant parts have it while it's limited, and then spray with some neem, something like plant therapy. There's some other things you can use: Serenade, hydrogen peroxide. Some people use milk. And apparently there are some KNF inputs that work for that too. So for that reason, we did have to, if I would have gone 9 weeks, I didn't want to, because I didn't want any of that stuff to get on the buds. Well, ACE 300, if an auto goes into flower at 30 days, that's like right along with what I'm doing with photos. Like I said, I usually go about 4 weeks, 28 days, at most 5 weeks veg before I flip. And I would say this with autos, I'm assuming you're running your light 24. You say you're running your light 24 hours, if I'm not mistaken. And if you're running your light 24 hours and your plants are flowering, that means your light bill is going to be twice as much. Your electricity bill, in relative to the lights. Your other hardware things may not change, but your lights in particular, that usage is going to be double if you flower at 24 hours. So I'm curious, can you run the lights only 12 hours with an auto, or is that recommended, or should you just go ahead and run it 24 hours? And if you do it 24 hours, does that benefit you by larger buds or something like that? Or explain to me. I'd like to know. And when you're saying they'll flower without light, does that mean you can just turn the light off and no plant's going to stay alive in the dark, but it doesn't mean that you can just give it as little light as possible, or well, like I said, if you're running the lights 18 hours as opposed to 12, that means your electricity bill is going to be more. So does that, by running 18 hours or 24, will you get larger buds or a higher yield if you run the lights a longer day cycle or a continuous day cycle? Or is that not information that you know? Shoot. I might do that other lemongrass tomorrow because I am getting tired. Order me some Afghani food. Anybody like Afghani food? Yeah, you know what? A lot of people, even like, and when they're vegging and they're doing 24-hour period, I don't agree with that either. I do it sometimes, but I think plants do need their rest. There's processes that go on in plants at nighttime. All plants were evolved with a night period. Whether at the equator or at the poles, they're going to get some form of darkness. And so most plants, all plants have evolved that way. So, there's got to be processes that are beneficial that only occur at night. Just like when we sleep, there are processes that go on in your body. Your body has to be immobile and in a period of rest for those processes to function properly, because that's the way we evolved or created, if that's your way of thinking. So I always think that plants do need a night period. I think that's important. Oh yeah, I think I have 3 more branches to go. Now, when I say 3 branches, of course, I mean each branch is really like a plant. Um, this Romulan really grew like an outdoor plant in the sense that it really, really branched out. So you would never want to crowd these plants because they're going to really, really spread out this strain. And once again, I had more plants than I should have had in the garden. I had 12 plants. I should have just did 8. Although I'm glad I did 12 now because I got 3 varieties instead of 2. But I think the addition of the LED, the TS1000, really made it better, though. It made me able to spread things out further. And although I still had to crowd the plants, there was good bud production in the middle of the garden. And I had the lights, the LEC spread apart pretty far enough that if the Mars Hydro wasn't there, that area wouldn't have produced the buds that it did. So you're using 100 watts, you have an LED. I was watching a video earlier today, and it was a guy from Apogee, from the Apogee Institute or whatever. They're this company that manufactures a lot of light monitoring products, PAR meters and spectrographs or whatever they're called. And he was talking about the input of the light, what the input wattage is. All right, SNL. See you later, bro. I'm going to get out of here in a minute myself. He was talking about how the input wattage is very, very important when it comes to how much your plants are going to yield. And so while the output, of course, is always important, and you have lights that don't have a high wattage input, you probably would do a lot better using more than 100 watts of light. So, you're probably, and don't let me deter you or don't let me speak too soon. If you're having good results with that light and you're satisfied with it, that's a beautiful thing. But according to this guy, he was like a engineer or something like that. I don't even think he even knew how he definitely wasn't a grower, but they were doing all this research and they were using data to suggest that the input is very, very important. You know what? I finished trimming a dozy dough. I did that yesterday. That was the first plant I did. And I should have did this plant first because this is the most labor intensive, this Romulan. There's just so many small branches with these nice little compact nugs on it. Yeah, Debo, man, I've been on here damn near 3 hours. It's like I'm not sitting up here by myself. So we're just chilling. We are just chilling. What you up to, man? You probably done had dinner already, huh, Debo? I think I'm gonna do I'm gonna finish off this last Romulan plant, and that last lemongrass that's gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm tired because that lemongrass, all the other lemongrasses had nice sturdy branches and they didn't have like a million branches. The one that I have last to do has all these little skinny branches, and it's just gonna be a chore. Oh, you want to see a nug? Okay, I'll show you. See if I can find a decent one. This is the Romulan. So most of the branches had like about, three or four, sometimes even five buds like this from each branch. So it's not a perfect trim, but I'll trim them again when they're dry. Well, that's cool, man. If you can do that and you can pull it off, that's what you should do, and definitely pass the knowledge on. What light are you using that just pulls 100 out the wall? If you hadn't mentioned before, could you mention it again? If you have mentioned it before, could you mention it again? Uh, yeah, it smells a little bit like I don't know, man. A reggae festival smells like weed being fired up. This smells different than a weed. This smells like a garden. This smells like you know, um, fresh cannabis is different than what's being smoked. So this is what we got done so far for this plant. Or part of what, some of it's on the drying rack already. So um, word up to the mother, that's a myth. That's a myth. That's a myth. Hanging the whole plant upside down uh, doesn't make THC run from the roots to the buds. First of all, THC is not produced in the roots. THC is produced in the trichomes and is a direct response to light. In particular, ultraviolet light stimulates more THC. If you have to get down to 285 nanometers, like the Solar Cure lights I use, they stimulate what is known as the UVR8 protein. And the UVR8 protein is what triggers plants to create their sunblock. And for cannabis, it's THC and resin glands. You know what? For that to be proven, that hanging the plants upside down, and that would have to be, you'd have to do a test of the exact same strains grown at the exact same time under the exact same conditions, and then do a side by side. But as I was mentioning earlier, the position of your plants in your garden alone can change the potency and the terpenes and everything just by in their relationship to the position of the light. But that is a myth. That is a myth. And things are can be suggestive. You can have that perception and it not be real. You can actually, I'm not trying to talk any mess or nothing, but you can literally psych yourself into believing anything. And sometimes just plants growing in the same environment, even if they're the same strain, they can be very different. And have a very, very noticeable difference in the potency and stuff. So that's why I always try to the plants in my harvest, unless I can really see that they're really uniform. And it's another reason why I sample buds. So if I see if they're different, I separate them. I mean, but like I said, do what you feel is working for you. You know, to me, the advantage of hanging the whole plant is that it dries slower. And if it dries slower, that means a lot of the metabolism is still going on, and it eats up more chlorophyll in that process, and you tend to get a smoother smoke. But if you dry at the right temperature, the right humidity, and you start to cure the plants at the right time, you'll get a you'll get a high quality. It'll be good, regardless whether you whether you hang it whole or whether you cut the branches. Even if you cut the buds off of the stems, um, as long as you don't over dry it, you'll have some good stuff if you once you cure it. But make sure you dry in the dark under all circumstances. Sometimes I see people, they're doing videos and they may not be that experienced, and they have they're drying plants in their grow room in the brightly lit area. They're not directly under the lights, but they're in a bright area. So you definitely don't want to do that because you're going to retain the chlorophyll in the plants. So I got to grab some more branches. Be right back. Ugh, I'm grunting, getting old. So I don't know if you can see this, but this is two branches. You can see it branches then two. So that's the last of the Romulan. That's the last that I got to trim today. I'm not going to do that last plant. I'm just going to wait. And it's the plant that doesn't even look the best. It's the one with the smallest buds. It doesn't have the best smell. I think it's still going to be good though, but that one's going to wait till tomorrow. So that plant will actually have the longest amount of time in the darkness. Yeah, that's a good thing to do, especially if you don't do a lot of defoliation. What I'm finding, if you do defoliation during flowering, is that you have more light penetration, and you have you have more of a uniform harvest from top to bottom if you defoliate. And I've been a old school grower, of course, so I didn't defoliate. This was my first cycle where I actually did a disciplined defoliation, and it was still a little bit less than some people do. But I think I prefer that to having the large fan leaves and the which gives you bigger tops, but then you get a lot of fluff. You actually get like 3 grades of cannabis, where if you do the defoliation, you get more uniform. So I would say you really have 1 grade, and then maybe at the very, very bottom of some branches, maybe that's a little bit lower. And so I don't know what you're talking about, letting them dry in the dirt. Ace 300, if you're talking about hanging the plant whole, yeah, I actually do believe that's true. Um, Everything being strain related. Um, if you if you hang the whole plant, it's going to dry slower, and the slower it dries, the better. So you can make a plant dry slow based on the environment too. So if you have it at the right temperature and the right humidity, you can dry slow even if you cut the branches or even cut the buds off of the stems. But maybe, you know, the hippie way is probably the best way. But it's a lot of work, especially if you leave everything on the plant. Now, if you do an old school hippie way, you don't trim the plant at all. You just hang it whole. The only thing you do is take off a few fan leaves. And it's going to take a long time for it to dry, but that's the way they used to do it. I would say a lot of the bud back then always tasted better than what we have now, in my opinion. Yeah, Little Willie, I do what is called a strategic defoliation too, because I'm doing living organic. So it's very, very important that there are some light receptors on the plant, because that's where it all starts. Fan leaves are important, so don't remove them all. But, you know, I think it's advantageous to remove some. When I've seen people do that full defoliation thing, I thought their buds were small. They looked like they were small to me. Okay, well, we passed the 3 hour mark, and I'm gonna do these last three branches, and I'm gonna get out of here. So I want to thank you all for participating in this live stream. I appreciate it. Hopefully we exchange some information. If there's anything else you want to ask me, or anything else you would like to pass on to me, you can always do that in the comments of my videos, or you can contact me on Instagram at biobud29. And also you can contact me at biobud29@gmail. So peace and love. Happy 420. And I'm out.